Hello everyone for following and returning to our channel. The mysterious portal opens again, and this time, it brings with it an unexpected shock. In the October 27, 2025 episode of Beyond the Gates, a new alliance is formed. But is it a genuine partnership or a cleverly orchestrated act? Exploding Head Leslie makes an offer that shocks both Haley and the audience. Haley, once strong and level-headed, is visibly confused when faced with a choice that could change everything. While Danny urges Nicole to take a risk, Samantha and June clash, and Kat, cold and determined, takes on Isaiah. It's all leading to a major turning point. Collision. So, what's behind Leslie's alliance? Is this the start of a new power or a path to destruction? Haley was confused when she received Leslie's proposal. It was a confusing confusion considering the fact that they both came from a powerful family, and such a family was always known for its intrigues, plots, and ulterior motives. But perhaps because of the closeness and familiarity of the blood relationship, Leslie's proposal became even more strange and understandable. Leslie, who had always controlled every situation around her, was trying to convince Haley to cooperate, but could not help but be cautious, because both of them knew that, in the world they were living in, cooperating with someone like Leslie was extremely dangerous. Haley, with all she had done and experienced, always kept a firm principle. Never trust an enemy in the game of intrigue. She understood that Leslie, like herself, was an ambitious con artist, always ready to use any means to achieve her goals. But the biggest difference between them is the honesty and determination in what they do. Haley does not hide that she is willing to do anything to achieve her goals, including killing her husband to be able to own $10 million from the insurance. This is a risky and cruel move, but it clearly reflects her character. A person who is tireless in seeking personal benefits, regardless of the cost. On the contrary, Leslie, although also ambitious and willing to use all tricks to control people, lacks the fierceness of Haley. She is a scheming woman, but not a real cunning con artist. Leslie often relies on influence, emotional manipulation, and the power of lies to achieve her goals. Therefore, although both have great ambition and greed, Leslie is always somewhat arrogant and sees herself as the controller. She believed that her manipulation was unbeatable, that others would never dare to oppose her. And that was what made her weak in Haley's eyes. When Leslie's offer came, Haley immediately realized the motive behind it. This was not sincere persuasion but a trick, an attempt to use her as a pawn in Leslie's own power game. Haley, although not lacking in cunning, always understood that careful calculation was required before entering any alliance. She knew that Leslie, while talented in manipulation, would not hesitate to betray her if her personal interests were threatened. Therefore, although Haley could take advantage of this offer to get closer to her goal, she never forgot to be wary of Leslie's schemes. However, Haley's confusion is not the immediate doubt about Leslie's offer, but the ambiguity in her decision. After all, this is an opportunity. Haley can use this alliance to accelerate the progress of her plan, or at least keep Leslie by her side as a tool of her own benefit. But will Leslie's greed cloud her sanity? Or will Leslie realize that her opponent, who is also a swindler, is not so easy to manipulate? This battle is not about who will win the power game, but who will pay the price. Both Haley and Leslie are schemers, but while Haley does everything ruthlessly, not hesitating to kill if necessary, Leslie is ambitious but lacks the decisiveness needed to get there. But if they do cooperate, will it help them achieve their goals, or is it simply an inevitable betrayal? When two scheming people meet, it is difficult to know whether they will become allies or enemies. Although both see the benefits of cooperation, the relationship may be a short-term arrangement with hidden motives. Neither Haley nor Leslie are easily deceived, which will create tense situations and constant threats to this cooperation. But will they be able to keep their wits about them and use each other without falling into a spiral of betrayal? If this alliance is successful, it will not only change the situation of their family, but also open the door to other scheming power plays that will continue to expand. But if either of them is revealed as a traitor, their downfall will not be merely a personal defeat, but a bloody war where there is no room for the weak. Can Haley truly win the battle of wits with Leslie, or will it be a devastating war for both? Leslie is still trying to win over Haley, but in another development, after Nicole's marriage to Ted collapsed, her life seemed to be taking a new turn, a future unclear and full of questions. While everything around her began to shake, Danny, her impulsive and daring younger sister, kept urging Nicole to take big steps, steps that could completely change her life. Danny has always been strong, not afraid to stand up to any obstacles, and now, as the first woman in her family to divorce after a marriage filled with pain and betrayal, she wants to see Nicole do the same. Not just to overcome the past, but to live a life unfettered, uninhibited by what has passed. Danny has her own reasons for pushing Nicole forward. The younger sister is trying to take control of the situation after facing her own failed marriage. Danny knows better than anyone what it feels like to be betrayed and have to start over. However, given what she has been through, perhaps she wants her sister to embrace freedom from the old relationships that have bound her. But Danny is not just encouraging Nicole to start a new life. She is pushing her sister to do something bold, perhaps revenge or even a decision that will change the future. Perhaps Danny wants Nicole to confront Leslie, whom she has always considered the cause of much suffering in her family. Leslie has always been an unpleasant character in Danny's eyes, and perhaps, in a moment of impulse, Danny wants to see Nicole do something to get revenge. But is this really a reasonable step, or simply an emotional incitement? Danny clearly doesn't care about the consequences of her actions, but Nicole does. While it seems like Danny is trying to prove that her sister can be strong enough to face any challenge, sometimes revenge can have unintended consequences, not only for Leslie but also for Nicole and their family. On the other hand, Danny may not be simply pushing for revenge, but for a more realistic and powerful life advice. Danny understands that Nicole can't live in the shadow of the past and past pain forever. Life is her own, and Danny is pushing her sister to live a passionate, free life, free from complicated relationships. She doesn't want Nicole to be stuck in a life of exhaustion and pain with people who are no longer worthy. While this may open Nicole up to more dangerous relationships, Danny hopes that this is the time for Nicole to let go of unhealthy relationships and find a new path that, while difficult and complicated, will bring her freedom and fulfillment. Danny may be encouraging Nicole to move towards Carlton, Ted's business partner, whom Nicole has recently begun to rely on. With Carlton's support, Nicole may find stability, a place to start anew, but the relationship is not without its complications. Danny has no doubt that Carlton could be a potential relationship for Nicole, but does she realize that this man may not be quite the salvation she seeks? Carlton's motives and calculations could complicate things, causing Nicole to once again be drawn into a web of relationships that could do more harm than good. However, what is important is that Danny wants to see Nicole stand up and live her own life, not for someone or for blind revenge. Danny may be impulsive, but she always wants the best for her sister. However, this action, whether well-intentioned or not, can still cause serious consequences not only for Nicole but for both of them. Nicole's decision will not only affect her, but also the relationships around her, including her family, friendships, and career. As Nicole steps out of her broken marriage, she is faced with a freedom she has never had before. But can she truly escape the past, or will she be drawn into risky and dangerous relationships? Danny wants to see her sister truly live her life, but can she help Nicole navigate the temptations and dangers of new relationships? Or will she end up sending her sister into a new spiral of mistakes and deception? Whichever path Nicole chooses, this decision will reshape her life, and possibly the lives of her entire family. What will Nicole do when Danny pushes her into a dangerous game? Will she be able to keep things under control, or will she be swept away by bad decisions? Samantha and June's relationship was already complicated, but recently it has become more strained than ever. June, Samantha and Tyrell's biological mother, has slowly been rebuilding her relationship with her two children after many years of separation. The two have found a connection at Orphe Jean, where June works, and despite her limited time, she tries her best to give her children sincere advice. In her free time, June does not hesitate to help Samantha and Tyrell, listening to their troubles and giving the best advice she can. For Samantha, she has always had problems with motherhood and dealing with life situations. The complex social relationships and the way she communicates with her son are not simple, especially when facing a family crisis. June has become a companion, a patient guide, ready to listen and give simple but valuable advice. One of the pieces of advice June gives Samantha is to be herself, not letting anyone or anything change who she really is. In addition, she also advises Samantha on how to use social media wisely, allowing her to share her life and thoughts freely without being affected by society's judgment. However, the bond between Samantha and June is not always easy. Even though they are mother and daughter, their relationship is not strong enough to overcome all challenges. June's encouragement can bring Samantha confidence, but there are also moments when June's words create conflicts that cannot be resolved immediately. One of the factors that makes this relationship become tense is when Samantha feels that she cannot fully accept her mother's advice. In Samantha's eyes, sometimes June's advice does not really reflect what she is going through, and instead of helping her solve the problem, it makes her feel like she is being controlled. So why did their relationship suddenly become strained? Was the problem really because of June's advice, or was there a deeper reason? One possibility is that Samantha felt pressured by her mother's high expectations of her. Not only did she have to deal with pressure from work and family, but she also had to deal with personal issues, especially in her relationship with a boyfriend she had a crush on at school. The relationship between Samantha and her boyfriend was always a big question. Although she never publicly expressed her commitment to the relationship, the emotional tension and uncertainty in the relationship could be a factor that made Samantha feel uncomfortable and insecure. In fact, Samantha and her boyfriend seemed unable to find a clear connection. It could be that the emotional difficulties made Samantha feel confused, not knowing where to go in the relationship. Perhaps she can't fully open up to her boyfriend or is hesitant to confront her true feelings. That may be why she resents the advice of June, a mother who wants her daughter to have a stable and thriving relationship. The conflict between Samantha and June becomes more complicated when Samantha begins to feel that her mother doesn't fully understand what she's going through. June, with her life experience and wisdom, can sometimes be too rational and practical in her advice. But for Samantha, what she needs may not just be advice, but understanding and empathy. That's the difference between a mother and a daughter who is on the path to finding herself. All of these factors, from advice, expectations, to Samantha's personal emotional struggles, create tension in the relationship between her and her mother. Will this discord be resolved, or will it only deepen? Perhaps, for Samantha, finding a way to reconcile with her mother will not be easy, especially when she has not yet been able to face the complicated emotions inside her. Will Samantha really understand the value of June's advice? Or will it be a rebellion against everything her mother said? Will Samantha's misunderstanding of the problem put her in danger? Meanwhile, the relationship between Kat and Isaiah is strained, and it's not just a simple argument. Kat, with all her strength and determination, is trying to protect not only her relationship with Tomas, but also her brother Isaiah from the trouble she believes will come if he continues his relationship with Eva. But strangely, Isaiah, instead of reacting angrily to Kat's scolding, doesn't seem to have a strong reaction at all. Perhaps his indifference to Kat's warning is a sign of a more complicated relationship, one in which they have both been through a lot and know each other better than what appears on the surface. The first question that needs to be asked is whether Kat and Isaiah have a past relationship that Isaiah doesn't want to talk about. It is possible that in the past they were close people, had a romantic relationship or memorable experiences, and this made it difficult for Isaiah to easily resist Kat. It is also possible that over time, Kat has become a woman with great influence in Isaiah's life, and he cannot completely stand up against her advice or warnings. This explains Isaiah's indifference when being scolded, because he probably understands that Kat only wants the best for him, even though her way of expressing it can be rude and overbearing. Isaiah probably does not get angry when being scolded by Kat because he understands that she always only wants to protect him. Kat, despite her strong and impulsive nature, always has a heart to protect her loved ones, especially Isaiah, who she considers an indispensable part of her life. While Kat's scolding may have annoyed Isaiah, he realized that she was doing it out of genuine concern. The way Kat constantly warned him to stay away from Eva also reflected her concern about the decisions Isaiah might make. She may see Eva as a threat, not only to Isaiah but also to the stability of Kat and Tomas' relationship. The big question, however, remains, is Kat protecting her relationship with Tomas, or is she just trying to protect Isaiah from trouble by warning him about Eva? From another perspective, Kat may be worried that Isaiah falling into a relationship with Eva will make things messy, not only for him but also for those around him. Kat knows that Eva can become a dangerous enemy not only to her but also to the people she loves. If Isaiah continues this relationship, she fears that there will be unforeseen consequences, not only personal conflicts but also power struggles that neither of them will be able to escape. However, another theory is that Kat does not want Eva to be happy. Throughout the story, Kat has shown that she does not easily accept the presence of new people in her life, especially those who may endanger the relationships she values. Eva could be a threat not only to Isaiah but also to Kat and Tomas, and she is feeling that preventing Isaiah from continuing this relationship is the only way to protect what she is trying to build. This clearly shows Kat's inner conflict. She not only wants to protect her relationship but also wants to make sure that no one, not even Eva, can ruin what she has built. If Isaiah decides to ignore Kat's warnings about Eva, does he realize the dangers of doing so, or does he simply want to live his life? This is an important question, as it reflects not only the relationship between Kat and Isaiah, but also the struggle between personal freedom and responsibility to loved ones. Isaiah may feel that this is his chance to be free, to pursue what he wants without being bound by the warnings. However, if he continues to ignore Kat's warnings, will he be sober enough to realize that he is entering a dangerous game where there is no room for naivety or wrong choices? The relationship between Kat and Isaiah is not just a simple argument, but also reflects the deep conflicts in each person's life. Both have their own reasons for acting the way they do, but will their choices lead to good results or just a series of irreversible mistakes? The answer to this question will not only decide their future but also affect their relationships with those around them. Will Isaiah, after being warned by Kat, continue to act the way he has, or will he realize the danger and change his mind?